Hey guys, you got questions about a Hemi swap? Well, so do you and a lot of other people. So in this video, I'm gonna break down what you're getting. So let's go take a look. Hey everybody, it's Bo with Access 4x4, and we build badass 4x4s. Well, every single day, I get hit up with tons of phone calls and emails from customers wanting to know this or that about a Hemi conversion. And I figured the best and easiest way to answer those questions is just make a YouTube video and throw it out there for you guys. So let's break it down, what you do get with a Hemi conversion and some of the different options that you can incorporate into that build. Well, first, let's start with one of the most commonly asked questions I get. Do you guys still do a 5.7 Hemi swap? Yes, we do. That's the short answer. The long answer is I wouldn't do it. Let me break down why. This is the 392 Hemi conversion, by far and away our most popular conversion. The 5.7 Hemi is about 400 horsepower. 392, about 500 horsepower. But the cost difference between them is only $3,000. And anybody that ever tried to build horsepower in an engine will tell you that 100 horsepower for $3,000 is super cheap. Now, the deeper answer to this question is, if you guys build a 5.7 Hemi Jeep, leave here, you drive it around for a couple of years, and then you decide to sell it. Problem is, anybody that's looking for that Jeep, well, they've either got to have enough cash to cover the difference between the loan value of the vehicle or pay outright cash for it. Guys out there that got that kind of money, whether they're covering the difference of the loan or just buying outright, I hate to tell you this, but they're not really looking for 5.7 Hemis. So that $3,000 difference that you save between a 5.7 and a 392 may cost you a lot more than that down the road when you decide to sell it. And now I know everybody says they're never going to sell their Jeep, but sometimes life happens and we just don't have any say in it. So think about that when you guys are deciding which engine you want to go with. But back to the 392. Like I said, it's by far and away our most popular conversion that we do. We do the 5.7 every now and then. We do the 392s. We do the 426, Hellcat. We can do the Demon too. By far and away, this is going to be the most popular one. All right, guys, let's talk about what's on the front of the engine. All right, this is your accessory drive. When you hear people refer to accessory drive, this is exactly what we're talking about. Accessories like alternator, AC compressor, power steering pump. Yes, power steering pump, because any conversion that we do now is going to delete the electronic power steering pump, and we're going to go back to a manual power steering pump. This is good. Not that the electronic power steering pump is bad, but when we go to run hydraulic steering assist on one of these, well, it's just nice to have that manual pump in there. This is a Mopar pump. This isn't going to be a PSC pump like you would normally use with a hydraulic steering assist, a Mopar power steering pump. Great pumps. They put out plenty of pressure for this, so we highly recommend just sticking with that whenever we do the conversion. Another thing I want to offer or throw out there for you guys is anytime you start doing these conversions or talking about building one of them, you definitely want to consider upgrading your steering gearbox. Now, this customer didn't do this, but he doesn't really need it. For all intents and purposes, what he's going to be doing, he doesn't necessarily need any help with the steering. But some of you do. In fact, most of you do that are doing these conversions. Now is the time to add that PSC steering gearbox. And that's going to allow us to run hydraulic steering assist lines down to a hydraulic steering assist ram that's going to be mounted to the axle and hooked up to the tie rod. So now anytime you guys are rock crawling, you're going to have plenty of strength in your steering to get through the rocks. But like I said, you can tell it's a very tight fit in there. Now is the time to do that upgrade. So if you guys decide to do it later on after we've done all this other work, it's going to cost you a bit more than it would to be done during the install. Let's move to the back side of the engine. Let's talk about this transmission for a minute. Another commonly asked question that I get from you guys is, can I reuse my stock transmission? The answer is no. The stock 850 RE transmission is only rated to about 362 foot-pounds of torque. So even if we were doing a 5.7 Hemi, we wouldn't be able to handle that. So every one of these is going to come with an 8 HP 75 8-speed transmission. These are great transmissions. They were developed for the Ram truck series, and they hold up extremely well with the Hemis. In fact, knock on wood, I have not had any issues with the ZF transmissions. And now we're even using the same 8 HP 75 transmission that comes with the factory 392 Wrangler. That's important because for a long time, we were using adapters and billet pieces to incorporate the transfer cases that come with the Jeep, most notably the 4-to-1 transfer case. which in low range, rock crawling, it works really well.
Safest place is in the Jeep.
But man,
maybe not.
Maybe a little bit too well. They're kind of hard to stop because of all the gear reduction. Now that we're using the 8HP75 transmission from the 392 Wrangler, we're also able to use the 2.72 to 1 gear reduction transfer case that you would find in the Sports or even the 392 Wrangler. It's not exactly the same transfer case, but it's definitely got the same gears and internal guts inside of it to give us that 2.72 ratio. Now when we throw it down in low range or rock crawling, it's going to be much more manageable to control. This is a huge bonus for you guys. So don't feel like you're stuck having to use a 4-to-1 transfer case.
It's okay, Birdie.
We've moved on from that. Now that we've covered the transmission, you can also tell you're going to get a different exhaust with it. I get asked that question a lot too. Am I going to reuse my exhaust? Absolutely not. You're going to get a new 3-inch exhaust all the way down to the bumper. You're going to get a new MagnaFlow muffler. You're going to get a MagnaFlow resonator. You're going to get new cats. So you're getting an entirely new exhaust system from the manifolds to the bumper. What else are you going to get with this? You're going to get a new aluminum radiator. In fact, you're also going to get a new fan to make sure that we're pulling enough CFM through that new radiator. I get asked that question a lot too. As if we would keep that little puny V6 radiator in there. No way. You guys are getting a brand new aluminum radiator. All of this is going to keep your engine super cool. In fact, cool enough that I was able to take mine to a lot of different places and run really hard on my 392 conversion that I had in my JT. I never had a single overheating issue in that thing. So you guys shouldn't have one either. All right, guys, we do get asked a lot of questions about suspension. And let me just say that at the very least, we are going to require a minimum of 2 inches of lift. The reason for that is that we just can't afford the suspension up travel to get into the engine and cause damage to the oil filter or any other components that may be too close. So by adding 2 inches of lift and 2 inches of bump stop to this, we're going to limit the up travel of the suspension and keep it from getting into the engine. Also a commonly asked question, do I need new axles? Well, it's really going to depend on the owner and how they operate the vehicle. I've got tons of guys out there that have come in here with these same conversions and never had to change their axles out. The reason being is they just wanted a performance upgrade for driving down the highway. In my opinion, as long as you've got the M210, M220 axles in here, you're good to go. The next question is going to be, do I need to regear? Well, again, that's going to depend on you. What size tires you're putting on there, how much weight is on the vehicle, how do you drive the vehicle? And it doesn't necessarily need to be done at the time of the install. It can be done later. I do suggest to some of my customers, we just go ahead and do the install, the engine and transmission, everything else. Go drive that thing. If you're not hitting 7th and 8th gear fast enough and you're not staying in them long enough, then we probably should re-gear. But back to that axle question, as long as you're running a 35 or 37-inch tire, I think we're okay with those stock axles. And you're probably okay with those 14 gears. But it's really, again, just going to come down to how you drive it. So I'd probably recommend what the 35s or the 37s, probably at least bump up to 456s, but you might be okay. All right, so this conversion is done. And in fact, the customer is on his way down right now to pick it up here in a minute. So I want to go over a couple more things that you guys have as far as the everyday drivability of the vehicle, what's it like owning it and stuff like that. So first thing, remote start. Does it still work? Yes, it does. Just like factory, just like it should be when you pay this much for a conversion. I always tell my customers, make very, very sure that you always use premium fuel in these. This is an SRT engine. It's tuned for 91 or better octane. We will go over all the, the oil requirements, power steering fluid requirements, stuff like that. How often, oil change intervals, stuff like that. Well, it's all normal stuff, but we do go over it with the customers when they pick up the vehicle. Moving to the inside of the vehicle, you'd see everything is as it should be. Your shifter's right there, still in remote start mode. So we'll push the button here, see everything. Everything's gonna go. It's gonna look just like it would if it was built at the factory, okay? Only thing you got going on there is your seatbelt light, which obviously, because I'm not sitting in there. Cruise control is gonna work as it should, stereo, heating and air, stuff like that. All that stuff works just like it did before. Like I said, as it should be. With the introduction of the factory Wrangler 392, it's only made the aftermarket better. It's pushed us to build better conversions. So working with companies like America's Most Wanted 4x4, they've been very receptive to any feedback that we've given them, and they've used it to make the conversions better, along with, I'm sure, other installers. So you can buy one of these with confidence that what you're getting is exactly what you wanted. A OEM style, completely factory look, works like factory. Everything in it is amazing. And I love when the customer shows up to pick this vehicle up and they hear that V8 start off for the first time. You know, just as reliable as it was built from the factory. So in fact, it's gonna be pretty cool when Jeff gets here in a minute to see his Mojave. So I'm gonna let you guys go, but if you guys have any questions about these conversions, just hit us up in the email, call us at the shop. We'll be more than happy to help you guys. And for more videos on off-roading and other cool stuff, click here. I get hit up with tons of phone calls and emails. Start over.